Playing the Falcons, not going New Orleans. This is incredible. Gonna go live here fully in about 5 minutes. Gonna let people get in here, but this is incredible. I cannot believe what this happened. Despondent last night, just thinking about how the Panthers have chased a quarterback for the past 2 off seasons, gotten Bears twice, David Tepper, who I still am not going to exonerate. He's still doing a lot of dumb things. He's still not someone that I trust. And I don't love the way he's gone about things here in Carolina for the most part. But hell, man, the Falcons and the Saints both thought they were in prime position to bring Deshaun Watson home, and he's going to be a Cleveland Brown. That is incredible. Putting out the link on YouTube right now. All right, let's see. Live now. This is just so great. Forget the tournament. I'm sitting here. The tournament games have been bad today anyway. This is great. Let's get the chat going here. Let's get started here in about 4 minutes, but this is great. Deshaun Watson is headed to Cleveland. He's not going to be a Saint. He's not going to be a Falcon. Won't be a Panther, which is unfortunate. I'm curious to hear what people's opinions are coming up here now on everything as far as like what the Browns actually gave up. No players. I wonder if that's going to change people's perception of whether the Panthers should have made this deal or not. But we'll get into it here shortly. Let people trickle in. Make sure if you guys see that on YouTube or on Twitter, make sure to retweet that so we can get more people in here. But I told everybody a couple minutes ago that be doing this at 5, 3 minutes to go. But we'll get into it. What a great day. The NFL is out of control right now. The NFL is out of control. Yeah, I'm going to get into the Tepper thing, Bernie. I'm going to get to that. Well, absolutely. Because the news that came up, great reporting from Jonathan Alexander and Ellis Williams, from The Observer. We'll get into all that here shortly. Just going to let more people get in here. Put in whatever you have to the chat. This is just so great. Deshaun Watson is going to be a Cleveland Brown, who they could have drafted him a couple years ago, but they didn't do it. They did not do it. And the O-line looking good. Scott Fitterer is making moves. This is not Matt Rule at play. This is Scott Fitterer at play. I'm feeling good about it. Davidson Wildcat shirt on, go Cats, playing later tonight down in Greenville. I'm feeling good. Look, we still got to find a quarterback, but the fact that we don't have to face Deshaun Watson twice a year, I'm happy. This is so funny. What a great Friday to be a Carolina Panthers fan after everything that we thought was going to happen. Do not talk to me about Gardner Minshew. Come on. I told you yesterday to stop talking about Gardner Minshew. Let's trade an asset for Gardner Minshew, who's not the answer. Like, what are we doing here, man? All right. Let's see. Got 2 more minutes, then I'll officially kind of get this thing going here. Live. Happy Friday, everybody. This is so great. Hey, we got a pro. We got an all-pro. He chose the Browns because of money. This is clearly a money thing for Deshaun Watson. $230 million. Yeah, I've seen the. That's a fake account that's talking about Honey Badger, but you said Robbie just tweeted about it. It might be real. Like, there's people who make up crap, and they might be right. But hey, Honey Badger. Yeah, we ain't got Watson, unfortunately, but we can still get that boy Matthew. Okay, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Maybe hope that breaks down. That breaks right now. Everyone should feel good, especially after last night. I see Josh just sent this to me. I don't know if you're in here. I see that. Okay. All right. Deshaun Watson is a Cleveland Brown. No, there was a different report. I put that in quotes. Report from some dude who says he writes for some random paper in Charlotte. I'm like, that's a fake guy. If you just look at the bios, it's pretty easy to tell who's fake. It's funny the amount of people who like send me something in my DMs. Yeah, did Trey Boston tweet it? I mean, who is that guy? Let's see. Let's find Trey's. It's 5 o'clock, so I'm gonna get going here. Trey. I mean, I got tagged in the same tweet where like someone tagged me in it with Trey Boston. too. So I don't know where it's at, but I'll find it later. All right, let's go. Let's do this, baby. Deshaun Watson played the Falcons, played the Saints. He ain't going to be in the NFC South. We ain't got to see that man twice a year, and I am not mad about it. Let's get into it right now on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, man, what a great Friday. Happy Friday to everybody out there in Panthers Nation. Deshaun Watson, Carolina Panther, but he sure as hell ain't going to be an Atlanta Falcon or New Orleans Saints. This is in the NFL is on fire. As I've told you, I need this dude, Deshaun Watson, to make a decision by noon on Thursday because this is my favorite time of the year. You see him wearing a Davidson College shirt. Go Cats, taking down Michigan State later tonight down in Greenville, South Carolina. They're going to take down Duke on Sunday in Coach K's career. But that's not what we're here. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Carolina Panthers, the moves that they made, and to laugh at our division rivals who thought they had Deshaun Watson. I was on here last night live, despondent, upset about how the Carolina Panthers for 2 straight off seasons chased after a quarterback who wanted nothing to do with them, and there was no direction. We had no idea what they're going to – we still don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. They're making some good moves. We'll get to those in a minute. But still, David Tepper, the thirst, the unquenching thirst for a quarterback has led to terrible move after terrible move. Sam Darnold, and then embarrassing yourself publicly for Deshaun Watson, who never wanted to be a Carolina Panther. The Panthers made it well known for over a year. That's the guy that they wanted. But he didn't want to come here. It looked like he wanted to go to Atlanta. Looked like he wanted to go to New Orleans. It made a lot of sense. Carolina, bad offensive line, which they're trying to fix. And again, we'll get into those conversations shortly. And really no direction the last couple of years. Why would he want to come here? You also look at New Orleans, where for the last 5 years, they've won a division, been to the playoffs, been a winning team, a good organization, strong foundation. Add a quarterback in there, and they were a playoff team. Could compete for a Super Bowl. Don't think they'd win one, but they can compete for a Super Bowl. Atlanta, nothing to offer other than the fact that he'd go down there and would be the native son and would be exalted and beloved. And that's what we thought was going to happen. The thought was after he called the Panthers and said, guys, thanks, but no thanks. I'm down to the Saints. I'm down to the Falcons. The thought was he was probably going to go to Atlanta or maybe New Orleans. We were going to have to deal with him twice a year, and that would be unfortunate. Brady's not going to be around forever. He retired, came back 40 days later, but still a short-term problem. Deshaun Watson was going to be a long-term problem for the Carolina Panthers and for the other 3 teams in the division if they weren't able to figure out the quarterback spot. But he's not going to be a problem anymore because according to Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport and all the NFL insiders, Deshaun Watson is headed to Cleveland. The same Cleveland Browns who were out of the running. The first team he called and said, thanks, but no thanks. I ain't trying to go up to Cleveland. I don't want to smell the stink coming from Lake Erie. I don't care about Cedar Point. I don't want to hang out on E4 Street. I don't want to go to Cleveland. I'm not interested in none of that. No thank you at all. Baker Mayfield was pissed off. He's like, out of here. Send me somewhere else. Blah, blah, blah. Cleveland's like, Baker, shut the hell up. You're staying here. We're not going to do that at all. But apparently, it's happened because Deshaun Watson just got paid. 5 years, $230 million, fully guaranteed. We thought Kirk Cousins was a gangster with all the money that he's been stealing. Now, Deshaun's not stealing money now. To get that kind of money is unbelievable. He's not a big player in NFL history. After everything he's been accused of, 22 owing civil suits, Deshaun Watson, despite all that, is going to Cleveland and is getting paid $230 million fully guaranteed, which tells me this was never about what team you're going to go to and you're going to have the best chance to win at. It was all about the almighty dollar. That's what it was about. Atlanta, New Orleans did everything to open up the salary cap. And hey, good for them. They got into the right part of the salary cap now. They're below it, and they can try and add to their team. They still don't have a quarterback. And they don't have Deshaun Watson making all those moves. And for what? For who? Not Watson, because he's not coming. The Falcons really thought they were going to get Deshaun Watson. Arthur Blake's like, hey, Migos, come down here. It's not happening. Goodbye. He's going to Cleveland. So we saw the reports earlier today on Friday from Ellis Williams and from Jonathan Alexander from the Charlotte Observer talking about how one of the reasons, and there's a lot of reasons why Deshaun Watson didn't want to come to Carolina was because they didn't want to guarantee the third and fourth years of his contract, which I can understand. Deshaun Watson, again, 22, ongoing civil suits, just got past the criminal part a week ago, not even a week removed, just got past that. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. So mortgaging draft picks, okay, that's one thing. But then guaranteeing more money on top of that, I can understand where David Tepper would why he would draw the line there. It is still a little confusing for David Tepper to be so outwardly interested in Deshaun Watson and pursuing him, but then it comes down to money in the end. Want to assume the risk, even though you're already assuming the risk by trading for him. There's very likely going to be a suspension of at least 6 games, maybe 8. We'll see how it plays out eventually. We don't know when all this is going to be done. But it came down to money for Deshaun Watson. That's what it came down to. And I also think it comes down to, he liked the weapons on the roster. But he looks at it, Matt Rule, probably not going to be here next year. Do I really want to go play for that coach? What's going to happen in the future? And it might be enticing to have the opportunity to choose your own head coach. As Benjamin Albright had said in the Twitter Spaces earlier this week that, hey, Deshaun Watson, David Tepper wants him so bad, he might let him pick the next head coach. I don't know how serious that was, but knowing David Tepper, that might actually be a serious proposition. I saw a lot of Panther fans getting upset. Oh, you'll offer Sam Darnold his 5th-year option. You'll give that. You'll pick it up without even watching him play, but you won't guarantee that money for Deshaun Watson. It's like, yeah, well, Sam Darnold, it's only like a 1-year thing. He doesn't have all that criminal issues behind him. We don't know what the future is going to be with Deshaun Watson and all that. So I understand why he didn't do it. But at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson didn't want to play here. So it didn't matter. He didn't want to play here. So whatever. Good riddance. Have fun in Cleveland. Just happy he's not going to Atlanta or New Orleans. Now, looking at those two teams, as we break down the NFC South here, Carolina, it's still the Bucs division. And the Bucs got to be laughing harder than anybody else right now. We can laugh. We're still sitting here in quarterback purgatory, so we can only laugh so much. But hell, it's a Friday. It's happy hour. Get a drink. Enjoy it. Why not? Deshaun ain't going to be in the division, and he's not going to be our problem for the next 10, 12 years. He's not to the poverty Falcons. He's not going down to New Orleans. And I love that. So Tampa laughing the hardest because they're going to win the division once again, and they don't have to worry about either of the other 3 teams. But for New Orleans, just saw the report from Adam Schefter that Jameis Winston will be returning to be their quarterback towards ACL last year. I honestly thought Jameis was playing fairly well under Sean Payton, and if he got the opportunity, he could potentially be a good quarterback for New Orleans. Former number 1 overall pick. I think he can be a good player. The problem with Jameis, obviously, is the boneheaded turnovers. We saw that in the Week 2 game where the Panthers embarrassed the Saints at Bank of America Stadium here in Uptown Charlotte. So the Saints got Jameis Winston back. They'll be fine. It's New Orleans. Yeah, they have the cap issues every year. We'll see what happens to Teron Armstead. I've seen people here in the chat saying we're going to get Teron Armstead. Maybe that will happen. The Panthers still have space, and I'm hoping now that they've learned their lesson, they're not going to still chase after quarterbacks and have to just try and build the overall roster, which is what they should have been doing in the first place. And that was part of my main frustration after watching them get embarrassed for the second straight offseason with Watson not wanting to come here. So just build the roster. If you built the roster, you made the right decisions, which probably would have been fine. You have Teddy, whatever, draft a quarterback last year, and we're not sitting here banging our head against the wall, mad as hell because it looks like our division rival is getting Deshaun Watson, and that's Fletcher Cox heading back to the Eagles. So that's my main frustration is that we thought we were going to have to deal with this guy. The Panthers still had no quarterback direction. I liked the moves up until even today. We'll talk about those shortly. I liked the moves throughout the week the Panthers had made, so I was not upset by that at all. I was just upset by Watson's going to be here. Tepper is just way too aggressive, putting us in bad situations, like draft or trading second, fourth, and sixth round pick for Sam Darnold, who was awful in New York, was not very good in his last year at USC, and has very clearly shown he is not capable of being a high-level starter or a starter in the NFL. He's one of the worst in the league. Even though I still think that maybe the Panthers might be better off rolling with him for one more year instead of chasing after players. Now, they still need to add competition. We'll see how that plays out here over the next couple of weeks. Looking now at Atlanta, they've pissed off Matt Ryan. And I said this to y'all the other day. Like, I kind of felt bad in a way for Sam Darnold. Like, the dude sucks. It's not his fault the Panthers are stupid enough to go trade those picks for him and give him an opportunity and think that, oh, he could maybe come in here and make things happen. That was their mistake. He's bad. That just happens. So, yeah, he shouldn't be here. Yes, it was a bad decision. But I kind of felt bad for the dude. It's like, okay, he's not good at football. But at least he's not accused of the things that Deshaun Watson's accused of. He's coming here. He's not been in any sort of issue outside of the field. So, it's kind of dirty. But what they're doing to Matt Ryan in Atlanta is one of the dirtiest things that you've seen a team do. And it's a business. Never forget that. When you sit here and you want to side with the owners in the league, remember how they treated guys like Matt Ryan, who I know you hate, but just look how they treat some of these players. Matt Ryan's done nothing but good things for the city of Atlanta, whether it's been in the community, winning games on the field, being an MVP, blew that 28-3 lead, never forget, which this is akin to Falcons, blew a 28-3 lead, and blew signing Deshaun Watson, their hometown hero. And he's going to Cleveland instead. But Matt Ryan, he's still a decent quarterback. The only reason they've been competitive 3 seasons is because of Matt Ryan, where Julio Jones is not healthy. The defense is terrible. Calvin Ridley's out there betting on games and getting suspended. Matt Ryan's been the only constant outside of the Falcons perpetually shooting themselves in the foot and blowing games late in the game. Like, he's the only guy on that roster worth the most part. I mean, Pitts is good. We'll see what he pans. What's a kid to try and get rid of Matt Ryan for Deshaun Watson? And I understand why they would do it. It's a business. And I get the whole hometown aspect of it. But Matt Ryan was done so dirty. And see the reports from Ian Rappaport and from Adam Schefter here that he now is upset by this and he might want out. He's going to get options. Please, Lord, I don't ask you for minutes. Please let that happen. Please, the Falcons, the damn dirty birds, who didn't want Matt Ryan anymore, wanted to go chase after Deshaun, didn't get him. Please let them have ticked off Matt Ryan so much that he requests trade and goes elsewhere. Please let that happen. That would be incredible. I would love that to be the outcome of all of this. After a dramatic week, and I thank you for the content, Deshaun. Big week here on Locked On Panthers, I'm sure. Thank you for getting 5 straight days. Now I get 6 straight days. This might end up being Monday's episode. I don't know, of content to talk about. Will he come? Won't he come? What's going to happen? Mad at Tepper. Now here at the end of the week, laughing at the Saints and Falcons. In particular, the Falcons, because the Saints will still be fine. They'll figure it out. I'm sure if Winston's healthy enough, they might be a playoff team. Because the only reason they weren't last season is because he got hurt, in my opinion. I think it's so funny to look at what's happened. And here is still one of the things at the NFC South. True 2 years ago, where the Carolina Panthers were in a position to potentially take over the NFC South, and they made all the right moves, that quarterback is still true today. The Saints don't have a long-term answer. The Falcons don't have a long-term answer. Might be losing their franchise quarterback and one of the best players they've ever had in that franchise, Matt Ryan, very soon. And Tampa has Tom Brady, but for how much longer? He said he wanted to play to 45. Maybe this is it. This is still an opportunity for the Panthers if they make the right moves to take over the division. Now, you have to identify the right quarterback. But as I've been saying for the last couple of years, whether you listen to me on F&Z or you listen to me here on Locked On Panthers, focusing on building the overall roster is what the Carolina Panthers should be doing. They should not be chasing after Matthew Stafford. They should not be chasing after Russell Wilson. They should not be chasing after Deshaun Watson. They should be focusing on drafting and developing players and making prudent trades that don't cost him a boatload of picks. That's what they should be doing. And that's still true today, that they still have the opportunity to do that. They were in prime position if they start making the right decision. Now, they probably need to change the head coach. I'm not going to advocate for Matt Rule getting fired. I was one of the proponents of him getting a third year. So I feel like we fire coaches way too soon. Let's give him an opportunity, see what we can do. So far as coaching staff, 3 former head coaches now on the staff. I don't love Ben McAdoo as the OC, but he has experience of having success. Now, it was with the Hall of Fame quarterback and Eli Manning, but still he had success. Paul Pasqualoni, who's going to know, he's forgotten more football than I'll ever know. He's now here coaching defensive line, been a former head coach in college and in the NFL. And, of course, our hometown guy, Steve Wilkes, who got a raw deal in Arizona, he's been a secondary. I like what the coaching staff. That is a positive. So, if anything, now that Watson's not going to be here, and I talked about it, positive vibes only starting on Monday. Positive vibes can now start right now on the Panthers, as the Falcons and Saints are not going to get Deshaun Watson. Thank you, God. Now let's look at the roster here. Let's look at the moves that have been made here the last couple of days. Okay, just looking at Twitter and kind of stuff as we're doing this live. All right, so first move of the day on Friday was them signing Matt Ioannidis, who is a former defensive tackle for the Washington Redskins, then football team, now Commanders. They apparently told him this week, his agent, we're not going to cut you. They cut him, saved a couple million, like $7 or $9 million against salary cap. I don't know why they did it, but they got rid of him, whatever. So he's now here in Carolina. The funny thing about it, oops, my bad. The funny thing about it, my friend just sent me a text where I dropped the F. Either way, my bad. The funny thing about it is that he went to Temple, and we've seen some Temple and Baylor guys come in and have success, and other ones, like number 52, Tahir Whitehead, play really bad. You go back to 2018 and 2019, 7.5 sacks, and then 8.5 sacks. I'm cool with that. The last couple seasons, pandemic season, had issues, COVID, injuries, and then last year had a down year, only 4 sacks for the last 4 seasons. But he's played well, so it's not like this is Matt Rule just bringing in one of his guys. This is actually a good player, and they needed a defensive tackle after Daquan Jones left and went up to Buffalo because, of course, he went to Buffalo to sign a 2-year, $10 million deal. So good for Daquan Jones, and good to get Matt Ioannidis. Yeah, Matt Ioannidis for 1 year here in Carolina after when he has, he's played well over the last couple seasons. They also signed Johnny Hekker, who was released by the Rams for whatever reason. He was on the NFL's All-Decade team in the 2010s. He is a 4-time Pro Bowler and a 4-time first-team All-Pro. Major upgrade from what the Panthers had last year in Lachlan Edwards. And who else did they have as their punter last season? They also had, help me out in the comments here. They also had, hey, Shane, dude from Joe Charlton. So, and they might have somebody else. But the major upgrade, I think, for the Carolina Panthers to get Johnny Hekker and Ioannidis, good moves. And then you also see them go out there and get another offensive lineman in Bradley Bozeman, who's played center before, who's played guard, started 2 years in Baltimore. Last season started every game at center in Baltimore with the Ravens. The previous 2 seasons started every game at left guard for the Ravens. So he has the flexibility. And the Panthers always talk about positional flexibility. Bozeman's a former, I think, 2nd-round pick out of the University of Alabama. Ozzie Newsome used to be old GM there up in Baltimore. Big Bama guy. So it made a lot of sense why he's got a lot of Bama players. But Bozeman's a good player. But I'm looking at the offensive line now, and there's a lot of combinations that things can be settled in. I've seen some people, when I tweeted out earlier at Julian Counts on Twitter, if you're watching, obviously you see it right there with that graphic. But now looking at Bozeman here and also having signed Austin Corbett earlier this season, there's a couple options. The 2 main options I'm looking at right now, and depending on what happens with the draft and what they do at quarterback, left tackle, Brady Christensen. That's one option. Then left guard, Bradley Bozeman, center, Pat Elflein, right guard, Austin Corbett, right tackle, Taylor. So that's option A. Option B, 6th pick at left tackle, Brady Christensen at left guard, Bradley Bozeman at center, because I'd rather have Bozeman there than Pat Elflein. He's a better player. Right guard, Austin Corbett, right tackle, Taylor Moton. I've also seen people say, all right, where does that factor in with Deontay Brown? Good question. Because he played well in that Week 18 game down at Tampa. He's a road grader. He deserves a play. It's all about finding that best 5. Moton, Corbett, I think are locked in there on the right side of the offensive line. I also believe, isn't Brown more of a right guard than a left guard? I'm not quite sure. You want to get him out there on the field. The Panthers also need to have some sort of depth, and that allows them to have depth now that they've been able to bring back Bradley Bozeman. And we'll see how it changes out. They could still draft a left tackle at 6, and we'll see how that plays out. But looking at the offensive line right now, where you have Christensen, you have Bozeman, you have Elflein, you have Corbett, you have Taylor Moton, you feel really good about where they're at right now compared to where they were last year. And no matter who's playing at quarterback this season for the Carolina Panthers, they have a much better opportunity of having success because of those guys in front of them. You trust Moton. Corbett's been a good player in Cleveland and in Los Angeles. The Rams just looked at the fact that they were going to pay their center and Brian Allen, and they're going to pay a new left tackle and was it Joe Noteboom? That the guard, that's the last guy you're going to pay. It's not like he's a bad player. He's obviously a good player. So now they have that. They have Corbett out there. So right tackle, right guard with Moton, Corbett, that seems to be figured out. Center competition, Bozeman, Elflein. As we've seen, Elflein is better at center than he's at a guard. So if he's going to start, it's going to have to be at center. And then Bozeman's played left guard before. I feel comfortable with him being there. Left tackle, we'll see how it plays out. The Panthers have said that if they can find a player in the draft early at that 6th spot who can be your left tackle option for the next 10 years and can be a really good player, they'll take it. Brady Christensen was graded out as a 2nd-round guard, 3rd-round tackle. I'm still believing that they would find a way to take a tackle there at 6 if that's what they felt was right. Having as many guys as possible is fine. It doesn't really matter whether, we get a left tackle, then maybe Christensen doesn't start after all, or like Brown doesn't start. Like, we need to have depth, as we've seen here in Carolina over the last couple seasons. They have had plenty of times where guys don't stay healthy. You need to be able to have quality depth. And I don't think I'm not saying people are doing this. I don't think anyone's in a position to worry about, is this guy getting enough time on the field? It doesn't matter. Like with Brown especially, he's a 6th-round pick. It's not like there's a ton of expectation. You don't talk to me about Trey Smith. Trey Smith had blood clot issues. That's why he fell all the way back to 6th round. I bet you didn't know that. That's the issue. He was a top 10 guy coming out of high school in the state of Tennessee, 5-star recruit to go to Tennessee. He would have been a 1st or 2nd round pick had he not had the medical issues. That's why he dropped back to 6. So please don't say Trey Smith. That's the context of the situation. But Brown, he hasn't figured out his weight. Yeah, I think he's going to be a good player eventually. But this allows him more time to develop. And Bozeman's only a 1-year deal. Nothing to say that Bozeman's going to be here permanently. I mean, after next upcoming season. And we'll see what happens with Pat Elflein. And he has a 3-year deal. And if he remains a center and how all that works out and all that. So the offensive line, I feel great about where they're at now than obviously where they were at earlier in the week. We sat there all day Monday and said, okay, we see the top guards going off the board. What's going on here? Are we going to sign somebody? And they signed a guy who just won a Super Bowl. And then they signed another guy in Bradley Bozeman who comes from a very run-heavy offense in Baltimore. And the Panthers are talking about running a 1980s offense and wanted to be a downhill rushing team. Lord help me. Okay. But you don't have a good quarterback, so I guess it's hard to throw the ball all around our yard if you don't have someone. But also you need a running game to complement a potential rookie quarterback, which is what people are still talking about here in the chat as I see y'all arguing about whether no update on Tyrann Mathieu. I have no idea. I haven't seen anything that's actually substantive. I can't even speak. Whatever. I haven't seen anything that's real that says that Tyrann Mathieu's actually coming here other than like that fake Twitter account. But either way, looking at the whole situation, feel good about the offensive line. DJ Moore, he gets a contract extension, 3 years, $61 million, $41 million guaranteed. Don't really have a ton to say about that other than, it's a no-brainer. He picked up his 5th-year option last year. He's going to make $11 million this year. This is the time where we're going to have to re-sign him. Same thing with Brian Burns. Eventually, this offseason, they'll pick up his 5th-year option. They'll re-sign him next year to a mega extension. That's how it should play out when you have high-performing first-round picks like a DJ Moore, like a Brian Burns. Moore's never been to a Pro Bowl. Doesn't matter. He's had to play with a broken Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, who some of y'all fell in love with for whatever reason. Because you're dumb sometimes. We're all dumb. We all make mistakes. That's one of the worst mistakes you could make, possibly. They believe Will Greer playing in an ill-fated start in Indianapolis, Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, Teddy Bridgewater. Despite all that, last 3 seasons, him and Stephon Diggs, only players in the NFL to have over 1,200 yards receiving in 3 straight seasons. The dude can play. Now you only wonder what he could do if he gets a quarterback one day. We would love to see that for everybody on this roster. What happens if they have a good quarterback? I love. Teddy Two Gloves did have helped Anderson have a great year. And it's funny how people hated Teddy so much, and that offense was so much better with him than it was with Sam Darnold. Oh, we get Sam Darnold, we're going to be able to stretch the field. One play, First game of the year against the Jets. And after that, it was an abject disaster. But if you've been listening to the show since I started hosting it last year, one of my first episodes is why they shouldn't trade for Sam Darnold. A week later, they trade for Sam Darnold. And, well, the season was doomed from there because the offensive line also wasn't good. But so far, Scott Fitterer has done a fantastic job of bringing back Frankie Louvu. The J.J. Jansen deal, like as I said to y'all before, he's got to lose out to Thomas Fletcher. Otherwise, what the hell do we just do there? They got lucky that Fletcher got hurt and that they could stow him away on season-ending IR. But hopefully he can be the long snapper of the future moving forward. So that's not like a wasted 6th-round pick, even though I've never really gotten all that upset about it because they have far, worse. They've done far worse things than drafting a long snapper at 6, and also just proves how good that Bama national championship team was back in 2020. I like that move. Overall, let's see. Where else am I new? It's because the ones I talked to you about, Corbett, like that, like Bozeman. Let's see. Who else did they bring back? They brought back, Ian Thomas. Don't love that. Sean Chandler, you got to have some sort of depth. Marquise Haynes, been a really good rotational defensive end. And lose Hassan Reddick. You got to find a way to pick up the slack for the 11 sacks he had last season. So you add in Gross Matos getting more run. Now that Morgan Fox is gone, you add in Marquise Haynes, Frankie Louvu. Let's see what he can do in a starting role at outside linebacker for the Panthers. Xavier Woods didn't miss a snap all season long for Minnesota last season. 3-year, $15.75 million deal. Really good deal. Really only a 1-year deal depending on how things play out. Corbett, as I said, like that deal. Deontay Foreman, if you want to have a downhill runner, he's more of that than Christian McCaffrey, who did play the downhill rushing game back when he was at Stanford. But he's had injury issues, as we know, and it can allow Christian to kind of take a toll off his body and play more of the slot, which he does not say he wants to do all that much. But either way, Foreman was great when he came in last year in Tennessee when Derrick Henry went down. Rashard Higgins, good rapport. Baker Mayfield, solid player. They need to at least have someone who's actually made plays in the NFL to be the number 3. We'll see how things play out with Shi Smith and mainly Terrace Marshall. Damian Wilson, career year last year, playing strong side linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's back. He's here on a 2-year deal. Ioannidis, Hecker, Bozeman. I like everything that they've made, with all the deals that they've made. That's why I've been so frustrated with the whole David Tepper thing. It's like you hired a GM who has 20-plus years of experience. Like he knows what he's doing. Why don't you just allow this man to do his job? Like why are you butting in? And you can see that Rule. Maybe the Ioannidis thing might have been Matt Rule. Like, hey, I need a Temple guy. Like, I need a Temple guy. Please, please, please. Like, I want to be a part of the decision-making process, Scott. Please let me make one decision. It's like, fine, back off. We'll get him. He's actually a good player. We'll get him. Matt, chill out. Other than that, this is all Scott Fitterer. It should be the Fitterer show. As I said to y'all last time, I said like last week, I think someone asked me on a Friday mailbag about was it a mistake to keep Hurney. The main mistake about the Hurney thing was that Matt Rule got to do everything. He got to say it. Because you knew Hurney was a lame duck. He was only here to help Tepper learn how to not run a football team, which he's done spectacularly well, running the team in the damn ground. But once he got Scott Fitterer, Fitterer now should have the say. And I do know that Matt Rule has the final say on the 53-man roster, but that should not be the case at all. As you saw in Seattle, how the dynamics just shifted, where John Snyder is now the general manager there. He now has the say over the roster, where it was Pete Carroll before. It needs to be all Scott Fitterer here. The guy who has barely any experience in the NFL should not be the one who gets a chance to make the moves. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it. Okay, let's see. Quarterback stuff. Where am I at quarterback? I still feel like for me right now, it's a fluid situation. We got to see what else happens, especially what they do at left tackle. If they get a left tackle in free agency here over the next week, this weekend or maybe next week, then the conversation probably shifts to drafting a quarterback. Now, 6 is still too high for Pickett or Willis. I think we can all agree with that. I've also brought up the fact that Scott Fitterer has said in the past that if that's the point in the draft where if you like a guy, you can take a risk at a quarterback. I don't think they should take a risk at any of those guys at 6 this year. Next year, it's supposed to be better. At least the top 2 guys, Bryce Young, we'll see how he plays out, but he's a Heisman Trophy winner at Alabama this past year. And I think Bama's probably going to win the national championship next year. And you got C.J. Stroud at Ohio State. After that, Spencer Rattler, who was supposed to be number 1 pick, at least that was the thought. He is now in South Carolina with Shane Beamer. We'll see if he can basically arise again and look like someone who's pretty good, who can be a first-round quarterback. We'll also see the case with Keaton Slovis, who was at USC, and he's now at Pitt. We'll see how that works out. Now, they don't have the same OC. Mark Whipple's now gone to Nebraska, so it's not the same offense that Kenny Pickett ran. But either way, we're looking at it. We know who the top 2 guys, but after that, I don't know. But 6th pick, that's too high for a quarterback. With the left tackle, if they get that figured out, like they get Armstead, then everything changes for the Panthers and what they want to do at 6. Because that then becomes, all right, you could still take like Sauce Gardner if they end up not being able to re-sign Dante, which I think is now more of a likely situation now that they've gotten rid of that. They missed out on Deshaun and they were able to restructure Robbie's deal to open up $5 more million in cap space. They can, I hope they can get Dante, because the quarterback market for the most part is played out. He's seen that he's not really wanted by anybody else. He's had injuries the last 2 seasons. He was my breakout player for this season. I think when he played, he actually played really well. We can go back to the Washington game where he got cooked by Terry McLaurin. That's just who Dante is. They brought in J.C. Horn hopefully to be that number 1 guy. He was the number 1 guy before he went down to that foot injury in his 3rd quarter of that Texans game in week 3. Him and Dante back next year would be great. If they don't bring back Dante and they don't bring back Stephon Gilmore, then I would not mind getting Sauce Gardner. But all of that hinges upon whether they bring a left tackle like a Teron Armstead via free agency. We'll see if he wants to go back to New Orleans. He wanted to see if they were going to get Deshaun. Now he's going to look at his market, and it's going to be $24 million a year. That's a lot. You're already paying Taylor Moton, $18 million a year, I think? So that's a lot of money to have at your tackles. We sat here for way too long in Carolina with bad offensive linemen, and I'm not going to sit here and complain about whether they're paying too much of a premium for starting tackles, because that's not something we should sit here and complain. Right now, when it comes to quarterback, for me, because they have not addressed the left tackle spot, I'm still saying left tackle at 6. I'm still saying left tackle at 6. Ride with Darnold plus either Mariota or Dalton or a veteran. Because now with the offensive line getting settled and got DJ back, hopefully McCaffrey's healthier, there is an opportunity that maybe they can – and the defense still looks like it's going to be good. I like the defensive additions. You have the young core. I'm cool with that. I understand that it's not going to probably lead to the kind of success that you want. But Atlanta, looking at the situation in the NFC South, Tampa might only have Brady for this year. Atlanta, they ticked off Matt Ryan. He might be gone. New Orleans, they don't have a long-term answer at quarterback. Like, it's not like I'm telling the Panthers to drag their feet, but building the overall roster and being patient, which David Tepper told us. Rome wasn't built today, but yet he can't practice the same patience that he preaches. If they do that and just build, I'm cool with that. And they also brought in Sam Darnold a year ago and talked about all the things that was great about him. And then after a year, they're never mind. No, we don't believe those things anymore. Coach the man. It's going to probably cost Matt Rule's job, but he made his bet. He's got a lie in it. That's just how I feel about it. Now, looking at Baker Mayfield, as I'm seeing, I'm seeing a lot of the chat here when it comes to Baker Mayfield. I like Baker. I've always liked Baker. His personality and taking things too personally is probably why he's no longer there in Cleveland. Just a low blow to say they want an adult in the room, and they go out and get Deshaun Watson, who, again, has 22 ongoing civil suits, accusing him of sexual misconduct and sexual assault as it pertains to his relationships with multiple massage therapists. But Baker, I don't know. He has a 50-year option too, guys. We'd have to pay Baker the same amount of money we're paying Sam Darnold, and they're not getting rid of Sam Darnold. So you're going to pay basically $38 million on 2 quarterbacks, and you're not sure either one of them is a long-term answer. Because the thing is, you give up Baker, what is it going to cost? Maybe, I don't know, because it's not like Cleveland has a lot of leverage, but you're going to get him for less than you got Sam Darnold. You're still giving up an asset. Maybe not. It might not be this year because they don't have really any good assets outside the 6th pick, which you're not trading away. They don't have a ton of good assets. So you bring in Baker Mayfield. He is okay next season. Then you have to make a decision. Are you going to franchise tag him? Are you going to re-sign him? You don't have. I don't know if he's a long-term answer here in Carolina. I just don't think that it's basically the same thing they did with Sam Darnold, a former top 3 pick who you're trying to fix and hope that he can come in here and be in a better situation. Which I can't say this is a better situation with the offense because the Cleveland Browns. I mean, he was injured last year. He regressed. It was really his fault. We saw what OBJ did as soon as he got to LA in Sean McVay's offense. And I like what they do there in Cleveland offensively. And they look really good in 2020. I just don't think that's something they should be looking at doing. Oh, wow. USC Miami going down to the buzzer here. It was blocked. Foul. Terrible call. Either way, back to Baker. No. I'm just going to say no. I've always loved Baker Mayfield. I just don't think that's what we should do. Just stop chasing after quarterbacks. They should have learned their lesson. I've also already seen reports. I think it was from Jeff Howe of The Athletic, used to cover the Patriots. Now I think he's a national writer for The Athletic. He said that Baker's preference is the Colts. That also will hinge upon what the Colts want to do. Do the Colts want Baker, or would they rather try to get Matt Ryan, especially when they're in kind of win now mode and trying to win a Super Bowl after this jettison Carson Wentz off to Washington? They'd be better off with Matt Ryan. He's a professional. He's won before. It wouldn't be their long-term fix, but they're trying to win right now, as you saw what they did when they had Phillip Rivers 2 years ago, and then they traded for Carson Wentz, who has had good days in the NFL, just overall poor leadership, just terrible decision-making, and you can't really live with that long-term if you're an NFL franchise. So no to Baker Mayfield. A big fat no to Gardner Minshew. Stop asking about Gardner Minshew. No. He's not good. Like, he had a good season in Jacksonville, and they believed in him so much that they drafted Trevor Lawrence. Like, I get it. It's a no-brainer. Trevor Lawrence, number one overall pick. You got to take the guy. But Jacksonville believed in him so much. They were like, no, we're good. Goes to Philadelphia, didn't play. Jalen Hurts, they're like, we got Hurts instead. What do we need Gardner Minshew for? They like having three quarterbacks in Philadelphia. I'm just, no. It's the same thing. You're still on the hamster wheel, going nowhere with Gardner Minshew. Is he better than Darnold? Obviously, he's better than Darnold. But why would you give him an asset for a quarterback who's not the answer when you could sign someone off the street for peanuts? Marcus Mariota, former second overall, same draft as Jameis Winston. I used to be in Tennessee, used to have to cover the Titans back when I was at 102.5 the game. I watched Marcus Mariota go to Kansas City, Alex Smith, Kansas City, mind you, go to Kansas City and win a playoff game by himself. The dude literally threw a touchdown pass to himself. He's had injury issues. He's never had consistency with his play calling in Tennessee because that was a dumpster fire organization until they hired John Robinson as a general manager and then brought in Mike Vrabel. Now they fix things up. But Marcus Mariota lost his confidence. He's not a rah-rah guy. He's similar in his disposition as Sam Darnold, as a quiet guy, not going to be rah-rah. But the dude, he plays tough, and he's ready for an opportunity. And the Panthers can offer him an actual opportunity to be a starting quarterback here, where no one else can do that. So he can get the opportunity to compete. Andy Dalton, we've seen better days from him. Dallas, not great. Chicago, it was not Andy Dalton time after all. Let's go ahead. I mean, maybe bring him in as competition because they can't just do nothing. So that's how when I look at it. But when it comes to just like drafting a quarterback, no to Pickett. I've seen too much of him. I don't think he's good. I get last year was great. Went from 13 touchdowns to 42. He was awesome last season. And he's improved. And that's what you want to see. I don't look at it as making a lot of sense. And for Matt Rule, and he said it, and I think it's Cap, he said it, that I'm never going to do anything that is not best for the Carolina Panthers long term. Well, there's not a long term for you, buddy, after this season if you don't win. So I don't see why they would get a rookie quarterback. But eventually for Scott Fitterer, who's not going anywhere unless some sort of scandal happens, I'm not trying to wish that on any man, he's going to be back next year. And hopefully he's the one who's going to draft the quarterback and not draft quarterback. He's going to hire the next head coach. And it won't be David Tepper, who obviously as the owner has to sign off on everything that happens here, which that should be his only job. But for me, I just don't think that Matt Rule wants to get a rookie. Now, it might not be his say. And we saw how the draft played out last year. That was Scott Fitterer making all those moves. That was not Matt Rule. So if Scott Fitterer wants a quarterback and he thinks that they're man, but still, as I'm just thinking about this in my head, I'm seeing your chat. I'm seeing what you guys are saying. He said that he's not going to bypass a generational 10-year player at 6. Can we say that about Pickett or Willis? No, it's a crapshoot with any of the quarterbacks. People thought Baker Mayfield was the right choice. That lasted 4 years in Cleveland. People thought Sam Darnold was the right choice. That lasted 3 years in New York. He stunk this year in Carolina. Arizona thought maybe Josh Rosen was a choice. That lasted a year. It's a crapshoot. I don't know how it's going to work out. I just think the best thing to do is keep building the roster. Stop chasing quarterbacks. Tyler Huntley, yeah, he's out there. He looked really good for the Ravens last year. If I'm Baltimore, there's no way. They haven't re-signed Lamar. There's no way I'm letting him get away. I'm going to give him whatever he wants, top-level backup money, to come back. And if things go south with Lamar there in Baltimore as far as the contract talks, you have Tyler Huntley, someone that you feel comfortable about. But, yeah, I'm not talking – don't trade anybody. I don't think right now they need to draft a quarterback. It could change, as I've said, depending on how things play out here in free agency. That could all change. But right now, for me, I'm all about just keep building the roster, stop chasing quarterbacks, roll with Darnold, sign a veteran, let him duke it out in Spartanburg on Hard Knocks as we all laugh and cringe at the same time and cry, and then hope for the best next year. Is the roster's better overall, which it looks like right now, especially up front on the offensive line, they're gonna have an opportunity. But I'm good. And I saw Will Kunkel from it used to be Fox 46, now it's like Queen City News. He's a sports reporter there. He said that the Panthers, at least he reported, he said the Panthers, I don't know who his source is. I like Will, great guy. He said the Panthers aren't interested in Mayfield. And Mayfield's not interested in Panthers. Like, I would have thought they would have learned their lesson by now. You want to be embarrassed by Baker Mayfield next? Just go sign somebody who's not going to cost you anything other than money. They have the cap space. Don't give up any more picks. We've done that last year. It didn't work out. They try to do that this year. And I'm kind of curious, too, with the whole Watson thing. It was 3 first-rounders, 1 third, and 1 fifth. No players. Weren't y'all mainly concerned about losing Burns or losing Chen? Like, had that been all they had to pay, would y'all be cool with that? I don't know if that would have meant they wouldn't have got Bozeman. I don't know if that would have meant that they would have gotten they probably got Hecker. Would y'all been cool with that? Because the picks, players matter. Everyone loves picks until they become underperforming players, which happens a lot. So I'm just curious if y'all would have been how y'all would have felt about that. I said I didn't give a crap about the picks. Like, look, you get them. The only pick that would have mattered this year, 6th-round pick, and then a 6th overall pick, and then after that, your thought is that you'd probably be good, and they would be really far back anyway, so it wouldn't really matter all that much. 3rd, 5th, whatever. But getting a franchise quarterback for the next 10, 12 years, that'd be great. Lost all the things he's accused of, didn't make it all that comfortable for me overall anyways. But he's not going to Atlanta, and he's not going to go to New Orleans either, and we don't got to see that man twice a year. Any other news? As I'm going to probably wrap this up soon. Any other news going out there? I haven't seen anything about Matthew. We got a center. I see y'all like yelling at each other. We got a center. It's either going to be Elfline or it's going to be Bozeman. No, don't draft Linderbaum. You don't need to draft him right now. You already have 2 centers on the roster. Don't do that. If they need to take tackle. They probably need to take I would say probably take 2 tackles in the draft this year. They say the deep tackle draft. Why not just have it available? I don't know. We got to see how things play out. They need to draft more than just one offensive lineman. Right now for me, take a tackle there at 6. And then probably take more offensive linemen later on. Neal or Aquanu, they're not going to be there, most likely. Now, Jacksonville, they brought back Cam Robinson. It looks like Aiden Hutchinson's the guy. I've read some reports that were saying that Aquanu, at least some people thought that maybe he would be the dude coming out of the combine who go number 1 overall. No. Tecklenburg. Yeah, baby. Tecklenburg County. Let's start him at center. What are we doing? We have 2 centers on the roster. Why are y'all yelling about centers right now? But they need to get more offensive linemen. Because either way, you just need to have some sort of depth. The fighting in having guys that don't cost a lot on the roster, that also helps. But man, I feel good. I feel a lot better than I felt last night. I was not happy. I'm happy they got Bozeman. I'm happy that they were able to get Corbett this week. The Woods, literally had never heard of the dude, but he's durable. Hopefully he can be durable again this year. Bring back Sean Chandler just in case things go south. Trevor Pitting, could be an option there at 6. I feel a lot better about where they're at now. And last night, it's still frustrating just the way that David Tepper has put his hands on this organization and won't allow people to do their jobs at times with the whole Watson thing. Because you really think Scott was like, yeah, we got to do that. Scott, he knows how to build a team. He's probably not thinking that we need to go chase after him. But when the owner's saying, go get me a quarterback, what are you going to do? You're going to say, no, boss, I'm not going to do that? He's going to try and do what the boss says. And I guess, fortunately, it didn't work out because now you don't have to worry about the whole giving up 3 picks and then that in the first round and whatever else would it cost. And also, you don't have to worry about him being in Atlanta or being in New Orleans because he's not going. And it's fantastic that this worked out for the better for the Carolina Panthers. But it still comes down to build the roster properly and hopefully evaluate the quarterback and find the right guy. Who knows? Maybe hell is frozen over and Sam Darnold learned how to play quarterback. We'll see. I would hope that at the very least, there's a light of fire under his ass. The man is a survivor currently. They're going to bring someone else in, but he's a survivor. The fact that he's sitting here on March 18th and the Panthers went after Deshaun Watson and they wanted Russell Wilson too, and he's still sitting pretty atop the depth chart at quarterback. We'll see what happens in the last month and a half, but hell, good for Sam, dude. He's surviving right now. Oh boy, but good day for the Carolina Panthers. Hopefully it'll be great for the Hornets here too. I saw something where the Hornets are 500 overall, 500 against the East, 500 against the West, and just perfectly mediocre, which is Charlotte sports. We'll see how things play out. But I like where the roster sits. I like the moves that Fitterer's made. I think everyone, you can be discouraged about the quarterback situation. Absolutely. And you can be frustrated about David Tepper. You feel really good about the offensive line, feel good about the young defensive players that you have on this roster and the holes that they filled so far defensively. They need to find someone who can set the edge defensively, though, and be able to stop the run. They still need to do that. I'm kind of concerned about that. Hopefully that Wilson can help them out there with Shaq Thompson as a strong side linebacker. We'll see if they bring in Tyrann Mathieu. There's talks. And now the Panthers have said that right now they want to keep Jeremy Chin back at safety. Even going into last season, they said that they felt like at least Phil Snow, the defensive coordinator, said that it sounds good for his long-term longevity and health. It makes more sense to put him back at safety. He's not great in coverage if you really paid attention. Wasn't great in coverage when he was a linebacker as a rookie. Wasn't really great in coverage last year, but he makes a lot of plays in the box, especially, which is the position he plays. But you bring in Tyrann Mathieu to play in the box, and you can put Jeremy Chin back there at linebacker. That gives you a lot of options defensively, and you can interchange it, flip things up, have guys come in for passing downs, and we'll see how it plays out. But overall, got to feel good about the defense. Special teams, let's go. Chris Tabor, congratulations. You got Johnny Hecker. Zane Gonzalez is good last year. Still not overall sold on him. He's had an up or down career. We'll see if that actually pans out. But there's no reason why they shouldn't have re-signed him. He earned that with his kicking last season. Feel good about those guys. Maybe find a kick returner. You can do that through the draft. Not a huge deal. Got to feel good about special teams. And offensively, McCaffrey can stay healthy. Good offensive line now. Look, add more to the draft. And you got DJ back. Maybe Robbie bounces back. We'll see what happens to Terrace Marshall, Shi Smith, and Rashard Higgins. Tight end, I don't really believe in Ian Thomas. Tommy Trimble, good prospect. They're starting to do it the right way. This has actually overall been a good week. It's been a hectic, tumultuous, frustrating week, but a lot of things have happened that have been positive. As far as free agency goes, D-Jack, I feel the same way. Let's get him back here in Carolina. His market didn't work out, even if it's only a 1-2 year deal, so he can get back on the market and try and make more money. That would work out for him. But I think overall, if you're a Panthers fan, you should be encouraged by what we saw today. In particular, Watson not going to the division, but what Scott Fitterer has been able to do today and what he's been able to do throughout the week and what he'll be able to do here over the next couple of weeks. Be cautious of the owner because as long as he's here and he's not learning that he needs to take a step back, we're always just one bad decision away from this entire – we have a middle linebacker. His name's Shaq Thompson. We're already one bad decision away from everything imploding. Right now, I feel pretty good about the Panthers, and I'm going to go grab a beer, go back. I was at my buddy's house watching the games today, and I literally just cracked open a Coors, the banquet beer, and I was like, all right, cool. Kick my feet up, not thinking about the Panthers, and all this news happened. I was like, I got to go back home. I got to go talk to these people about what's going on because this is an amazing turning of events, and everyone should be laughing and happy. So that's it for me here on Locked On Panthers. If you didn't catch it live, whatever, make sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube. Almost 500 subscribers so far. You guys, thank you so much. We're done for 4th week on YouTube. Please tell everybody that you know who is a Panthers fan. If you like the work I'm doing, if you support me, just ask other people, hey, go support Julian throughout the rest of free agency, lead him to the draft, kind of try and give you the best content I can. And then next year in the fall, like the live show, second live show I've done. Anytime there's anything big, I'm going to do a live show, man. And especially after games next season, I'm going to start going live after every single game so we can get that out there so y'all can get that content you need. So thank you, everyone who supported me so far. Follow me on Twitter. If you're already watching this, but you're not following me, go ahead and start following me on Twitter, @Julian Council. Spread the word. Trying to do the best job I can. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, Locked On Panthers. You're not going to find that anywhere. Yeah, you get it for the radio station, WFNZ. Those guys do a great job. Used to work there. Love those guys. But if you only want it 30 minutes, I know this is longer than usual. You only want about 30 minutes in your commute to work. I got you there. 30 minutes, Panthers. That's everything you want to hear about this team. My opinion. I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm not afraid to criticize. I'm not afraid to praise. I'm fair when it comes to this team. They do well, I say great things about them. They do bad, I say bad things about them. But like you, I want to see them win. I'm a Charlotte guy, born and raised, grew up going to that stadium, was sitting there in that end zone back in 2003 when Ricky Prohl caught that catch from Jake after he came in for Rodney Peete at halftime. Went to the Super Bowl down in Houston. Thanks to my uncle who used to work for Anheuser-Busch. And me and my dad got to go to the game because my dad traded some Cuban cigars back when the embargo was going on to go to that game. So I love this team. I love the city, and I love y'all for the support. So please let everybody know about Locked On Panthers. Go support me. Support other people who care about the Panthers and do good work. like Joe Person of The Athletic, like Ellis Williams, Jonathan Alexander of The Observer. A lot of good people out there trying to give you the best content they can for this team. And there's brighter days ahead. We've had some frustrating ones over the last couple of years. Tepper, still don't trust that man. I don't think I ever will. He's a billionaire. You should never trust billionaires. That's an easy lesson that all of us should learn one day. That's going to wrap it up here for this edition of Locked On Panthers. Thank you all so much for tuning into the live show, and thank you for listening to the show and all that. And have a great weekend. I'm going to start drinking, so